Welcome back, students. Today we are going to discuss a new writer, and this writer belongs to prose. So, yes, we are going to discuss Jonathan Swift today, and I'll discuss first of all a brief introduction of Jonathan Swift, and then we are going to discuss his work, Gulliver's Travel, that is apparently a prosaic work, but it has some deep rooted meanings. It has a reflection of the society of that time. Well, let's start our discussion. Jonathan Swift was an Irish author and satirist. He's best known for his writings, particularly his writing Gulliver's Travel. He was Dean of St. Patrick's Cathedral in Dublin. Well, it means Dublin is the city of Ireland, as we all know. Swift was born on November 30th, 1667. He was an Irish author, clergyman, and satirist. Swift grew up as a fatherless child. He was looked after by his uncle. He received his bachelor's degree from Trinity College and then started working as a statesman's assistant. Eventually, he became Dean of St. Patrick's Cathedral in Dublin. Most of his writings were published under pseudonyms. He best remembered for his 1726 book, Gulliver's Travel. Now there are a lot of debates about this work, Gulliver's Travel. Some of it is apparently it sounds like a travelogue. It sounds like it is the story of different voyages by the protagonist Gulliver, and it has a lot of episodes. All the journeys of Mr. Gulliver, they were so full of excitement, and they were so full of different sort of challenges and adventures. But eventually, what we just get after the initial readings of this book, of this narrative book, we can get an idea that this very story that is represented metaphorically, it has some deep roots, means it is the reflection of something in a very metaphoric manner. The story of different sort of islands, different sort of creatures, and the manners, they are actually reflecting different sides of our own society and different sort of the political conflicts of the society of Swift's time period. Well, let's come to the introduction of Gulliver's Travel. One of Jonathan Swift's most noted work is Gulliver's Travel. Gulliver's Travel is in fact the only work by Swift known to nearly all English readers, because as we all know, that this very book, Gulliver's Travel, it has different sections in the courses of Oxford that is normally taught in the school levels, and secondly, it also has some short versions, like in the form of children's stories. Apparently, it seems like a children's story, but it isn't actually. Well, Gulliver's Travel is a narrative fiction and a supreme example of the art of storytelling. Now, this thing clarifies the idea that it's a prose narrative. The satire of Gulliver's Travel concerns the society and politics of all Swift's writings as the clearest in vision. So this thing shows that the very book is also a satire. Now, satire always means some social reformation. So, behind the writings of these adventurous series, Swift definitely had a purpose to bring reformation in the English society of that time, particularly in the political scenario of that society. So, apparently apparently an allegorical story, a metaphoric representation, but actually the very prose narrative is the reflection of the political situations of the times in England. So it doesn't only reflect the political side, it reflects the political, morals, and intellectual outlook upon the man as a member of the social order. So it is not only a political satire, but it is also a satire on the manners of human beings on that time. While the travels of Gulliver can be seen by Swift's interest in tales and voyages, which were always of his favorite reading. So, another personal side of this very prose narrative is that it reflects Gulliver's travels, means it reflects Swift's own interest in story reading and storytelling. Well, the idea behind Gulliver's travels, Swift believed would be wonderfully mend the world as a sort of allegory. Well, I think that's sufficient for today. I'll just continue my discussion from this aspect, that what is meant by an allegory or allegorical representation, that what is meant by allegory or allegorical representation. So, allegory means any type of literature, either a poem, a short story, or any political narrative that portrays some picture, and from that picture you can interpret something that is hidden. I mean, it has some hidden meanings, particularly some moral or some political meanings. So, allegorical representation is a type of representation in which apparently there is a story, there is a situation, but in fact it has some deep meanings, it has some different meanings, it has some secret meanings. So, again, this very this very prose narrative, this prosaic work, Gulliver's Travel, that is based on the adventurous series of the travels or voyages of Mr. Gulliver. It sounds like a child's story. It sounds like a tale of adventures, but in fact, it's an allegorical representation, as I have already discussed with you in my previous video, that it's a political satire and it's a moral satire. Well, in this very prosaic work, the story begins with Captain Gulliver's narrative. Means the story begins with where Gulliver is telling this story, Gulliver is telling this tale. It is done in a narrative form. Obviously, story is something that is written in a narrative form. Gulliver serving as a narrator over here. Gulliver is also a character and he's the narrative. He's the protagonist as well. Gulliver explains in the beginning in a note to his cousin who was serving as a transcriber and publicist that his interpretations and changes in the original version would cause uncertainties and differences in that of the actual voyage and happenings. So the very thing shows that it has some hidden meanings. Captain Gulliver is therefore explaining to the reader that all the events in his voyages may differ in fact and in details. So it is slightly different than how it actually happened. Gulliver's Travel is appropriately named for that of means Gulliver's Travel is the name of the story, is the name of those events, those records he is going to publish or he has been published. Okay, so the travel voyages of Captain Gulliver is the title of the series.